Welcome to the HerStory Podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Gertrude. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be on your podcast. So my name is Alice Geoffroy. I pronounce it the very French way, so I am French. I'm 37 years old, and I am the holistic success coach. So it didn't start this way for me, and it is the result of my, lifelong journey. So I was born in France. I was born actually in the suburb of Paris. And then my family left Paris and I grew up in a smaller town south of France. And I guess my story and who I became really started through my childhood where we are two siblings. And I really grew up in the shadow of my brother, who was like a troubled kid who absorbed a lot of the family energy. And as a result of that, I grew up a little bit as the one who needed to be the good one and or had to do everything right, opposite to my brother. And I grew up in between needing to be invisible or being forced to be invisible because of all the space that my brother was taking and making it up for him, kind of a situation. So I grew up in this little town, as I was saying, and I remember as I was a teenager growing up, I just had one desire. I wanted to escape this place and I wanted to go discover the world. For me, my environment was too small and I was feeling a constricted type of a situation. So as soon as I went through my high school exam, I looked at what kind of studies can I do that take me out in the open, out in the world as possible. And that was through a business school. Actually, I did economic studies or international business studies, and I got to travel. I went to Germany, I went to the United States, and I loved it. I was finally on this path of discovering the world, and I had this insatiable thirst for, getting to understand what is out there, getting to understand what's different from me. And I was really passionate by that all along. And I was also, I guess, developing my interest for the industry I would later apply to and get hired in. And I had this drive at the time for the luxury industry. The reason why, beyond the, magazine and all the glamour of this industry, because I had chances to work within already during my studies with internships and stuff like that, I really got to enjoy the attention to details, the storytelling, the refinement that really resembled my personality. So I decided to specialize in that field. So I decided where else than Paris to specialize deeper in this industry. So I came back to France, went to Paris for a master degree specialized in international marketing and business development for luxury businesses. And from there, this is where I got my first job. I was then working at Hermes, this prestigious fashion brand. And this started my whole corporate journey. So what a journey. I remember during my first few months entering the corporate world, I realized how much unprepared I was for the corporate life. Unprepared, I guess, through my academics, but also, I don't know, through my education. I don't know. I felt deeply unprepared to the level of competition, to the level of low-key but always present toxicity, the hustle, the needing to be a certain way, showing up inauthentically. And I remember that it struck me really early on that one, I wasn't prepared, and two, I was like, is this it? Like, I don't feel like I don't feel good. I don't feel like I can be myself. But I'm wrong, because that's all I knew, really. Once again, I had this mental construct that I needed to be the good one. And so what I knew was get a job, climb the ladder. And so I went on to that and did that. So I did climb the ladder. I went to different companies, and eventually I made it to a marketing and communication manager. And I was managing a team. And long story short, I stayed 10 years in the corporate world. And throughout these 10 years, I really grew more and more uncomfortable and really misaligned with what was happening around me. Like, it was like a conflict of values all the time. And I felt this dissonance inside me. The only thing is that I couldn't put words into it. Like, I tell this story now and I understand I was growing this dissonance, but at the time I was just waking up feeling terrible, going to work with a pit in my stomach. Ultimately, towards my of my corporate career, I really evolving in a very toxic environment, and it affected my health. And I said I was growing this dissonance in my body. So at first it was whispering, and eventually those whispers became trucks, and my body was telling me what my mind would not hear. And so I started having fainting attacks, or I would wake up and my back was stiff and I actually could not get out of bed, or I had rashes all over my body. Like, my body was really there is a problem, like alarm mode. And I was so oblivious to the signals. For me, they were, symptoms that I needed to override in order to keep performing. Until eventually I had to look at myself, face it, something was wrong. And the turning point for me was actually, I took a little leap of faith at that time, because it was very new for me. But I went through an online program, and I know today it may sound like very common, but at the time, we are in 2019, and for me, it was just the first time that I was buying a online program, let alone a personal development program. Before that, I had not much experience in that area. And so the program actually made me look at my life like in great details, like dissecting my life into 12 areas and looking in those areas in great details, like looking at my belief, looking at my ideal vision, looking at my purpose. And at the time I was like, purpose, what? and um and this experience actually, like this whole journey, put me back in the driver's seat of my life. I stopped being a victim in that moment, and I understood the concept of self-leadership. And that was really the pivotal moment in my life. And this online program actually gave me the courage to make the hard decision that I had to make at the time, and that was to quit the corporate world.
Wow, what a journey you've been on. It sounds like a real roller coaster ride. But what was that turning point? What was the day when you had to change, when burnout made you pivot and say, I can't do this again? Can you remember the exact moment in time?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it was a growing feeling and sensations all over time, but there is that memory that is still very vivid for me. So there was that day I was going to work. It was early in the morning, and as I said, I was suffering fainting attacks, like unannounced. I would, pass out, and that had happened at work. That had happened in the street. That day, it was early in the morning. I was taking my shower before going to work. And I started feeling dizzy in the shower. And I realized what was happening to me. And I was like, I need to get out of the bathtub and go lay down as soon as possible. And I, stopped the water. And I actually did not have time to go and lay down. So I wanted to get out of the bathtub. And as I was climbing out of the bathtub, I collapsed and I fell down on my head. and I passed out. I don't know exactly. I was by myself. I don't know exactly how long I stayed on the floor. But when I came back to consciousness, I had this massive bump on my forehead. I wasn't feeling great. I was very, very pale. And guess what? This is not even that moment that made me stop. Actually, at that moment, when I came back to consciousness, I looked at my watch, and my first reaction was like, oh, I'm late. I have a super important meeting this morning and I can't be late. So, and that was my first reaction. So I went back to my room. I got dressed up really, really fast, and I went out of my apartment without even taking coffee or anything. And
Wow.
as I was in the metro that day, taking the subway to go to work, I realized the insanity of that situation. Wow. And that was the moment for me.
Wow. So why do you think so many high achieving women feel so unfulfilled?
Wow, this is lots of conditioning. We before being, and that goes down so deep. I think before being invited to look at what makes us thrive and what makes us, be in our creative best place to give what our genius to the world, we are told what to do and who to be.
Yeah.
And we grow up trying to mold, trying to take the shape people, society, family, religion, if any, want us to be. And so for some of us, there will be a time where we'll come to that realization, like, is that really me? Is that really what I want to do with my life? And so when we start having what sometimes I call, or we hear the term awakenings, like this dissonance I was talking about, this is where the unfulfillment may start growing in us.
Wow. Now, you talked about the hustle. So many people are on that treadmill, right? Just running like little rats trapped on a wheel that keeps turning. And I know that you talk about softness, truth, and alignment. Why are these qualities so important for women today?
Because this is the place where we thrive from. And again, although being told different, we were told like to hustle and relentlessly strive to get to an objective, to a goal that perhaps was never ours. But if we actually, and this is a big part of what I do now, and we'll get to talk about that later, I believe. But I work now with super high achievers, or people who, from the outside, really look like they've nailed it. But they have this unfulfillment in some way, and so it's really about looking back inside, or going back to the origin, coming back home. It's not this work, it's not about doing more, it's about removing the layers. And this is not an easy work, because again, we are so trained and conditioned to be in a certain striving and hustle all the time, like going down to our essence. This is not the easiest part of the work, but it's highly valuable, because from there we really get to give the best of what we have to offer.
So what are some of the signs that success is costing us more than it's giving us?
Thank you for this question. It's well, it might start in the professional life, where we start realizing that we give so much of our time and energy to something that at the end of the day is not really making us fulfilled. But eventually, and I remember that was my story as well, that growing unfulfillment start impacting all areas of life. So if I go back to my story, I really became a ghost in my own life. Like it had absorbed all my juicy lifeline, and so it started impacting my relationships, it started impacting my social life, my desire and my zest for life. So yeah, when you start, like, also what I see a lot is relationships or intimacy suffers. We start shutting down a little bit. We're less open to new things, or going out with our friends. Although this is what we might need, we tend to shut down. Yeah.
That's so true. So how do you help clients to reconnect with the wisdom of their bodies? Our bodies are constantly giving us messages, warnings, but we don't listen, right? You got to a point where you collapsed. I have a good friend, Ariana Huffington, the lady who owned the Huffington Post. She ended up collapsing with exhaustion as well. We push ourselves and we don't listen to the warnings.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love this question. This is such a deep integrative part of my job now, because initially I started training myself in life and business coaching. I got certified in these areas, and then I realized we are missing some aspect. And also understanding from my story that for me, when I had all these signals, like my body telling me stop, do something, and I was not listening, when I got to understand what was really happening and that I was oblivious, totally blind to those signs, I was like, I need to tell people. I need to let them know, like, we need to listen way more. So before getting trained in coaching, then I started expanding this knowledge, and I started working first with the unconscious mind, who is responsible for a lot in our body, in our life, and then I started working with somatic intelligence, so our body intelligence, and then energy. I brought the energy piece into it. In Western science, we tend to compartmentalize all of this, but if you look at ancient science, this is one system. This is it's all connected, and so yes, our anything that is happening in our bodies is happening for a reason. So it's not to say that we want to let it happen and indulge. And of course you want to get better, but everything happens for a reason, and so we don't want to override the science. And
Yeah.
so it starts from an emotion, it also works through the body, like feeling, sensation. It's also very important messengers.
Yes.
Emotions are energy in motion throughout our human vessel, which is the body,
Yeah.
and everything has a message for us. And it may go all the way to what we were talking about, like collapsing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes to extremes.
Mm.
So, what does neuroscience play in your approach to healing burnout? What
Yeah.
role does neuroscience play?
Yeah. So understanding the mind, it's also, this is one of the topic I just wish was taught at school. Like so many, as I grew in my journey, there are so many topics I wish they were taught at school. And how our mind operates, like how we form, what are our thoughts, what creates emotions, how we can navigate those, emotional rides that are sometimes really intense. And so understanding, I was talking about the unconscious mind earlier. So understanding how our beliefs are formed, understanding that based on our belief, we create certain thoughts. Based on
Yeah.
our thoughts, we have certain emotions. Based on these emotions, we will take actions, and our actions create our results, right? So
Yeah.
understanding this, chain of action reaction help us take back the control. And so if we change, if we look, first piece is awareness. So where are we operating from? What are our initial beliefs? And once we understand those, and we understand that eventually they're rather limiting us, understand
Right.
that we have the power to change them. And this, rewiring, recoding of our mind, this is the neuroscience part. We
Yes.
can go deeper and faster working with the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
But this is exactly how we can, heal and help navigate burnout. Because again, burnout can happen for different reasons.
Yeah.
Symptoms tend to be similar, even though there is a vast area of symptoms. But
Mhm.
tracing back the origin of the burnout might be different from a person to another. And
Yeah.
so how understanding this thread, and then so kind of reverse engineer
Yeah.
to help the person feel better, that is different from a person to another. Mhm.
Okay. So, what's the difference between performing and embodying success?
Mhm. Well, performance is again what we are taught. This is this idea of pushing and hustle, and it doesn't need to be. So embodiment is this idea of presence. So
Hmm.
presence of a performance, being overdoing. And it's not that we don't want the doing, we want it, but
Yeah.
we want an integration of both. And sometimes this is performance and no presence at all. So we
Yeah.
want to bring that back into balance.
I love that. Now, can you share a powerful transformative story from one of your coaching clients that you
Mhm.
helped?
Mhm. Absolutely. One of my, very dear client, I've been working with him for a year now. Yeah. Well, he based in New York, and very high achiever, working in the finance industry, used to overperformed. And he came to me actually because he wanted some guidance around his professional life. And the first conversation we had, I remember, his marriage was collapsing, his health was suffering. He actually had hurt himself in his Achilles heel, and
Right.
he couldn't really walk properly. And I really help him take a look at the 360 picture. Him wanting to progress in his career right now
Mhm.
was a bit of turning back to what really needed to be looked at. You know,
Right.
and so we worked together, and he was able to really find himself. So eventually it took the end of his relationship for
Yeah.
him. um, but he was in a very abusive relationship, actually, and so that was just the best thing for him. And from there, he was able to transform entirely. Like, his physical condition got so much better. He was able to heal his Achilles heel,
Okay.
working on the mind, working on this subconscious patterns that, he was, symptoms in the body are messengers, as I said. And sometimes they are just ways to prevent us to do something that is detrimental. For him, that was keep walking towards the same direction, right? And once
Yes.
we initiated for him that the direction you're going, you are just hitting the wall. You just keep hitting the same wall, and your body is telling you stop. And once we reassessed the vision for him and initiated that movement towards that vision, he transformed physically. Like, he's
Right.
healed, like, I want to say magically, but it's not magic. And yeah, he was able to become a new version of himself. He then got to thrive in his professional life because he got promoted. He's now in a position he couldn't dream of before. Like,
Wow.
everything started falling into place, but the starting point was not exactly what he thought it would be.
So, how can we redefine success collectively and not just individually?
Yes, very good question. One question that I would also love for our younger generations to know about, like, success is not about having a title, living in a certain type of house or in a certain neighborhood. It's not about having this name of this company on your resume. And so in my coaching, I explained that the holistic success model is based on three things. So the first aspect is your vitality or your health. This is the most important thing, right? Without health, nothing will ever happen. So it starts there, where we look at your physical, mental, spiritual health.
Yes.
Um, then the second pillar is meaning and purpose. So
Mhm.
understanding, it has to do with authenticity, who you are at your core and what it is that you want to bring out in the world. Like, what makes you thrive before any type of conditioning. And the
Yeah.
last piece is joy and happiness. In that category will fall the work and career part, even though
Yeah.
sometimes I feel surprised sometimes that it falls into that category. But
Yes.
in happiness, we look at internal factors of happiness and external factors of happiness. And external factors are your environment, your relationship, and of course, your work.
Wow. They do say that your health is your wealth. Unless you are physically and mentally okay, there's nothing much you can do really. More
And
people
you
need
get
to
to
that.
yeah, absolutely. And you only get to realize that once your health
Refuse
suffers,
it.
unfortunately. Once you're blocked in your everyday life, you get to understand how major it is to take care of our health. Yeah.
So, what are some daily practices that help you stay aligned in your own personal life that you can share with our community?
hmm Yes. So, coming home to myself is very, very important. And so there are plenty of different ways to do that. And when I work one-on-one with people, I really help them find what works best for them, because it's not a one-size-fits-all type of situation. I will say that some kind of mindfulness practices are paramount. So taking space or making space and taking the time to come back to ourselves. So it can take the form of a meditation practice, or a breathing practice or going walk in nature, but a time and space where we get rid of all our digital equipment and we just listen in. And for some people, we're so used of being overstimulated all the time. Just doing that will be uncomfortable at first because we get to listen to our thread of thoughts. So once there is silence all around us, what's happening inside? What's our self-talk? Is it empowering or is it disempowering? What is it that I really crave? So only in these moments of silence can one get to hear what's really going on. So that's super important. I would also put in that mindfulness category journaling. It has helped me a lot, like journaling, but not with constricting rules necessarily. Sometimes people get frightened that they have nothing to say or that it has to be perfectly written, stuff like that. So it can take the form again of just mind drop, where you just let go of anything and everything that is happening inside, and it's heavy to carry all day long, right? So you just brain dump and write down everything on a piece of paper. Or sometimes it can be a more meditative approach and just, taking your time to really go deep, and your sentences don't need to make sense. It's just for yourself. It's not meant to be read or reread necessarily. So you just let go, and that also can help make sense of what is going on for us. So yeah.
That's just amazing. So many tips and very simple things that can be implemented if you are aware of, what you can do.
Yes, absolutely. And really, it's not a one size fits all. I know that some people, when they hear meditation, they're like, not for me. I can't stand still. And I'm like, that's okay. I will make you move, and you will mindfully move if moving is your thing, So we can always find ways to make that work for everyone.
Now, I know that you talk about leadership from alignment. What does that look like in action?
Yes. So leadership are these qualities of, again, starts with knowing who we are and knowing where we want to go, and asking these questions for ourselves before being labeled, right? And so this is doing this personal work. This is how it all starts. And then, because we carry that mission and vision, we inspire others eventually do the same or go on their own mission vision. And so this is how it starts. This is, leadership, inner leadership in action.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Gosh, I could talk to you all day. You have given us so much knowledge. How can people get hold of you? Are you helping people outside of Paris and France? I know you talked about a client in the US. What's the best way for people to find you and work with you?
Yes, absolutely. I work with people everywhere. My, favorite way of working with people at the moment is online. And I actually move all around the globe. So this passion of discovering the world has never ended for me. So I'm actually a nomad, and I mostly work with my client online. So you can get a hold of me on my website, which is www.alicegeoffroy. So my first name, my last name, or on my LinkedIn profile, Alice Geoffroy, or my Instagram. And yes, I work with clients privately in exclusive one-on-one containers.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your wisdom with our community today. It's really inspiring because you, as a young woman, are helping others who are getting into the corporate world to look out for the signs of stress and overdoing things and being on that treadmill that can really bring you down if you're not present, like you said, and aware. Excellent warnings.
Thank you so much, Gertrude.
It's a pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to support you and help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are experiencing overwhelm, if you are experiencing burnout, stop. Your body is talking to you. Listen to those signs. Don't wait until you collapse, because recovering is very, very difficult to recover from burnout. So I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Alice, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the HerStory Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the HerStory Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Fantastic.